Right. She's going to handle the reportable action.
Yeah, go ahead, come on in.
Hey, Hilda, did you want to report out?
Is the council ready?
Yes.
Mayor? Mayor, would you like me to report at this time?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Mayor and council, members of the public, the city council met in closed session. All members of the city council were present. The council considered a post-judgment settlement in the case of Avalos versus Blanca Mendoza Navarro and Brandy Orth in her capacity as county clerk registrar of voters of Fresno County. The council approved the post-judgment settlement whereby the city will waive its cost and pay 1/3 of the court reporter's fees for a total outlay of $2,035.62 in return for Avalos waiving all his rights to appeal the action. The vote was 3-2 with Mayor Robertson and Mayor Pro Tem Guerra voting no.
Council Member Guerra.
Oh, I'm sorry. Council Member Guerra.
Okay, thank you for that. And with that, we will adjourn the closed session for the Selma City Council special meeting. And we will open our regular council meeting at 6:05 in 3 minutes.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Rena, can you hear me, Rena?
Yes, I can. You're coming in loud and clear.
Thank you for that.
Hi, Shalene. I see you're still on. I just wanted to let you know that we have a couple of presentations before your item, so it may be about 45 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
We have all the council members back. Oh, there he is. Okay. So our city clerk, tell us we're ready.
Hi, Mayor Robertson, we're ready.
Okay, thank you, city clerk. All right, with that, we will start the Selma City Council regular meeting, March 15th, 2021 at 6:08 p.m. And I want to apologize for being a little bit late. We had an executive session at 4:30 that ran just a little bit late. Thank you, everyone, for your understanding. On March 17th, 2020, Governor Newsom issued Executive Order N2920, which allows a local legislative body to hold public meetings via teleconferencing and to make public meetings accessible telephonically or otherwise electronically to all members of the public seeking to observe and to address the local legislative body. The teleconference phone number is 1301-715-8592. The ID is 852-6258-1677. The password 1893. When on the phone, if you wish to address council during the public comment portion of the agenda, press *9 to raise hand, and we will select you from the meeting queue. Press *6 to unmute and mute yourself. Our invocation tonight will be led by Pastor Joe Alvarez of the Iglesia Antioquia.
Thank you, Mayor.
You.
City council persons. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we just thank you for this opportunity to invoke your name, Heavenly Father, for direction, for guidance, for wisdom and patience, Heavenly Father. As we go forward doing your business, we just ask you that you bless everybody that participates, and we put everything in your hands. In the name of Jesus Christ, we all say amen.
Amen.
Stand for this flag salute.
Okay, we call the roll, please.
Councilmember Guerra,
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Here.
Mayor Robertson.
Here, potential conflicts of interest. Any council member has a potential conflict of interest may announce the item now and recuse themselves from discussing or voting on the matter. Oral communications. At this time, any member of the public may address the city council regarding any issue over which the council has jurisdiction, but which is not on the agenda. No action or discussion will take place on any item presented during oral communications. Items of interest may be referred to the city council for further review. Speakers will please limit their remarks to 3 minutes. City clerk, do we have any callers on the line who would like to speak tonight?
Mayor Robertson, I do see we have one caller with their hand raised. As a reminder, we ask those callers on the line to raise their hand by pressing *9. Caller ending in 914, please use *6 to unmute your line.
Good evening, Mayor Robertson, members of the council. My name is Justin Scarb. I'm the Director of Community Affairs and Government Relations with California Water Service, the water utility in Selma. Thanks for giving me the time to chat with you this evening. As you may know, the federal government has allocated $1.38 billion to assist low-income customers across the country pay their water and wastewater bills, and those funds are going to be flowing from DC to each one of the state capitals, and then the states will be determining how that money flows to individual utilities to assist those customers that are in need. We have a growing arrearage issue at Cal Water, as does every water utility in the state, so we're certainly looking forward to the opportunity to help our customers with those funds. Unfortunately, late last week, we learned that the State Water Resources Control Board, who will most likely be administering this program, is considering a policy that would prohibit any customer of a utility regulated by the Public Utilities Commission, like Cal Water, regardless of their need, from benefiting from those funds. We obviously think this is problematic because our customers pay the exact same taxes as anybody else in the state. They've suffered just as much as anybody else in the state from COVID, and certainly have been hard hit financially as anybody else in the state from the pandemic. And we put together a coalition letter that we're going to our community partners in the cities that we happen to serve, asking that the letter is to the governor, asking simply that our customers have equal opportunity to gain access to those funds, not that they get priority access, just the same access as anybody else. I recognize that this wasn't on the agenda for tonight's meeting, but I do believe that the council is having a special meeting later this week, and our hope was that you might take up this matter for consideration at that meeting. I've already provided a copy of that draft coalition letter to the city manager, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them now. If not, we can certainly call back in at that special meeting and answer them at that time. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. City manager, do you have a copy of that letter?
Well, we do have a copy and we can send that to you.
Could we see that before the Friday meeting?
Yes.
Okay. And is there a time base? Is this time based? Is that why Mr. Scarb is asking for us to consider this by
Yeah.
Friday?
Yes. When we met with Mr. Scarb on Friday, he let us know that he intends to send the coalition letter this week.
Okay.
Do you have an update on that, Justin?
No, that's still the case. We're looking to get the letter out as soon as possible. We would like to nip this in the bud as opposed to having this policy be finalized and then trying to unring the bell, so to speak.
Perhaps we could put this on the agenda for the Friday budget meeting, if council is amenable to that. Okay. So could you put it on the Friday agenda for us
Yes,
to consider that?
we can put
Thank
that on
you.
as council request.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Scarb. Okay,
Thank you very much.
welcome. Okay, any other callers, City Clerk?
As a reminder to the callers on the line, please use star 9 to raise your hand, and we will select you from the meeting queue. At this time, no other callers have their hands raised.
Thank you. With that, we will move on to special presentations. The first one is the Women's History Month proclamation.
Good evening, members of council and the public. Just one little thing that I wanted to say before I read the proclamation is that as a immigrant that came to this country at the age of 2 and now, an elected official, I feel very proud of our board because we have 3 members, women, on our council, and we also have a city manager. So I'm excited to read this proclamation declaring March Women's History Month. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contribution to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways, and whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. And whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation, and whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation, and whereas American women of every race, color, and ethnic background serve as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement, and whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military, and whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolishment movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which creates a more fair and just society for all. And whereas, despite their contributions, the role of the American woman in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, Mayor Scott Robertson, Mayor Pro Tem Beverly Cho, and council members Sarah Guerra, Blanca Mendoza Navarro, and John Trujillo do hereby proclaim March 2020 as Women History Month in the city of Selma, presented this 15th day of March 2021.
Thank you for that. That we will move on to our next special presentation tonight, which is a fire department badge pinning ceremony of firefighter Michael Rodriguez, firefighter Dakota Gordon, firefighter Eddie Calejo, and firefighter Andrew Rangel. Chief Peterson.
Members of council, we're pleased tonight to continue with our badge pinning ceremonies. With tonight, we'll be recognizing our 4 newest firefighters, and we will be beginning with Michael Rodriguez. All 4 of our firefighters have passed. They've been with us for over a year. They've passed their probationary period and have proven to be valuable assets to our department and our community. Come on up, Mike. Michael has been with us since October of 2019. Prior to joining our department, he served for 5 years in the United States Marine Corps, where he reached the rank of sergeant, working as a communication specialist. He had 2 deployments to the Middle East and earned the Naval Achievement Medal. Mike graduated from Fresno City College, the Fire Academy in 2019. Worked one summer with CAL FIRE as a firefighter and has earned his bachelor's degree in business management. Tonight, Michael will be pinned by his father, Felix Rodriguez, who is also a retired battalion chief from CAL FIRE. Good, how are you?
Keeping in the family. All right.
Our city clerk will now do swearing in.
Please raise your right hand, and when I'm through, please respond. Solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States, California, against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That you will bear, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States. That you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of well and faithfully discharge on that of which you are about to enter.
Sitting to my right is Gracie Rodriguez, my wife. The support that she's given me, definitely couldn't be here without her and everything she's done. Mary Rodriguez, she's my mom. Definitely a lot of support. Those three have been, my brother who's unfortunately to make it. Those are all four, family members who helped me along my way, from childhood inspiration to my continuing support day in, day out. So thank you for being here.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And bear with us for just a few minutes as
Sure.
we follow our COVID protocols and usher one family out, bring in
All right.
another. Right there on the blue line.
Right in the center.
Yeah.
Center of attention.
All right, Dakota Gordon has been with us since November of 2019. Prior to coming on board with our department, Dakota did 3 semesters at City College prior to transferring to San Diego State, where he spent the rest of his collegiate career as a Division I All-American athlete, fullback. He graduated in 2017 with a bachelor's degree in economics. Graduated from Fresno City College Fire Academy in 2018 and also worked this summer as a firefighter with CAL FIRE prior to coming on board. Tonight, Dakota will be pinned by his mom, Tina.
right hand and respond with "I do" when I am through. Do you solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of California, against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance, obligation freely, without fault, and faithfully discharge the duties upon that of which you are about to enter?
To the right over here, I have my mom, Gina, and my dad, Calvin. They've been very supportive my whole life, gave me every opportunity to be successful. So I thank them for that.
Take any pictures?
Try not to ruin your picture.
Congrats.
No,
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 right,
wait.
your face.
All right, but before we get started with Eddie, I would like to take a second to recognize retired fire engineer Scott Sanders is in the back. It's always good to see our retired members.
Oh, yeah.
He's here as one of Eddie's guests. So we have Eddie Colegio. Eddie's been with us full time since January of 2020. I actually started with our department in 2015 as a reserve firefighter, where he served as president of their association. Eddie graduated from Fresno City College Fire Academy in 2013. He worked for American Ambulance for about 6 months and CAL FIRE for 1 summer prior to coming on board with us. Tonight, Eddie will be pinned by his mom, Denise.
Solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of California, obligation freely, without any mental reservation,
I'd like to thank all you guys for showing up. I have my parents, Denise and Ted. I have my niece, Naya, my brother and his girlfriend. My two mentors, Scott Sanders and Justin Vasquez. And they're here with Justin's son, Mason, Scotty's wife, Stella, and their grandkids.
Right. Congratulations, Eddie.
Congratulations.
Stella, Justin.
Okay, our next firefighter is Andrew Rangel. Andrew's actually our firefighter paramedic. He's been with us since March of 2020. Prior to coming with us, Andrew worked for 6 years with American Ambulance as both an EMT and then a paramedic. Andrew graduated from the COS Fire Academy in 2015. And he completed his paramedic schooling in 2017. And prior to coming to work with us was a reserve firefighter for the Kingsburg Fire Department. Eddie tonight will be pinned by his father, Alejandro Rangel.
Right hand. And when I'm through, please respond with I do. Solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon that of which you are about to enter.
I'd like to introduce my family. I have my mom, Karen Rangel, my sister, Kathleen Rangel, and my dad, Alejandro Rangel. And I just want to thank you guys because I wouldn't be here where I'm at without you guys' help. And I really, really want to thank you guys. You guys are the reason why I'm here. I came close to almost giving up to this dream, but you told me not to, and I continue to push. I've been chasing this dream since I was 18. It's been 10 years. And I'm here now. I'm happy to be here.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for the opportunity again.
Thanks, Chief. You know, we had another badge ceremony last time, and it just shows, I didn't think it could get any better, but it was just as good this time. Amazing department. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the consent calendar. All items listed under, sorry, we're missing one special presentation, and that is on city planning project updates.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Kira Noguera, your city planner, here to give you an update on our planning projects. The changes to the spreadsheet since my last presentation are shown in italics, so I will just focus on those updates. Anytime I mention that we've had recent contact, that is basically just someone in city staff, it could be a number of people, have followed up with the applicant to see if they are continuing to move forward and if there's anything that we can do to assist them to help them move their project forward. Please let me know if you have any questions along the way, and I will get started. The first project we have an update on is for the lot line adjustment 180040 for Nixahota. This project was on hold for a couple of weeks waiting for landscape plans, but they were submitted and approved. So the building permits should be approved by ROD, or at least reviewed by ROD within the next week or so. So hopefully by our next update, that project will be under construction. The next project is CUP and site plan review 18-0041. This is for updates to a truck stop on Van Horn. The city did receive revised plans on March 1st, and we are reviewing those plans at this time. Site plan review 18-0045 Highland and Rose Body Shop. Recent communication has happened as recent as the end of February, and we are working to continue to move this project forward. Site plan review 17-0017. This is a gas station at 1702 2nd Street. There is currently a block wall under construction. It turns out that the footings were in the wrong location, so some corrections had to be made there. But this project is moving forward with construction. That's good news. The next project is the Super Drive-In. This is site plan review 19-0026. Recent communication on March 4th indicates progress for the project to move forward. And our first active project, annexation, general plan amendment, pre-zone and subdivision map 2020-0005. This project is at the southwest corner of Nebraska and Highland. The grant for sewer is being explored, and we have continually met with the client and their representatives over the last couple months, most recently as soon as March 3rd. And that meeting was to discuss CEQA review and the next steps. We also have a meeting planned with them next week.
Kira, I believe the developer contacted me on this project and was saying that the city's been helpful. He was just wondering what the next steps would be and the timeline for those steps. Is there any guidance that he could get from the city on that?
Was this Mr. Josan?
I believe it was his son, G.
Oh, okay. So in that meeting on March 3rd that we held, I believe his son might have been there, but he didn't speak during the meeting. But Mr. Josan has an advocate, like an entitlement specialist, Dirk Puschel, and Dirk has been meeting with us often on this one. So in that meeting, Mr. Josan heard that the first step for them to work on is going to be CEQA, and they do have a CEQA consultant. I don't think they're under contract at this point. They're hoping to be under contract soon, LSA. And that one is going to require, I think we may have mentioned this in our last study session on, think it was a couple weeks ago. Basically, VMTs are going to be the biggest hurdle for that project. So if that individual has any questions, I would be happy to reach out to them, or anyone on our staff. Fernando, we can include them in our meeting next week, and that way he can be fully up to date on everything that we're doing.
Okay, thank you. I'll let him know.
And just a correction, the meeting's tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Oh, excellent. Okay, that is true. Thank you, Fernando. The next project I have an update on is site plan review and tentative parcel map for Farney Hampton Inn. The city met on February 16th to discuss the storm drain system. So that's just one of the improvement plan items that has to be worked out before they can move forward.
At one stage, weren't we talking about like a March breaking the ground on this? Do we have a revised timeline on that, Kira?
Fernando, do you have a revised timeline on that? Or Isaac?
Oh, I think they were still significantly far away from breaking ground at this point.
Storm drain that big of an issue at this point?
They've come to a conclusion on how they're going to assess the storm drain system. They're going to be running a ditch into the bonding basin. So that was one of their last hurdles they had to cross with the improvement plans. So they are getting closer with that and kind of wrapping that up.
And that's the last one. They've been through CEQA. They've been through all their phase one. They just have to figure out the storm drain, and then they can move forward from that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
The next project is a site plan review and CUP for a service station on Mountain View. Communication on February 3rd indicates that the applicant is developing improvement plans for submittal in consideration of future Caltrans improvements. So they are communicating with Caltrans and our engineering department to design their ingress and egress and to be compliant with Caltrans future plans there. So they are moving forward and should be done very soon. The next project is site plan review 20-0024, a Dutch Brothers Coffee. This project was approved by the planning department. Conditions of approval were issued on February 17th. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong line. Conditions of approval were issued on March 9th. The site improvement plans and building permit application was received the very next day on March 10th. So this project is ready to move quickly. We're
So
excited.
is this up to the Dutch Brothers folks now? It's been approved and now it's just up to them to move forward on the.
So they did submit for building plans and improvement plans. So that is under city review. So they've done every part of their side and now it's in the city's hands to review the plans.
And the city is reviewing those plans right now. How long does it usually take for this phase of the project?
Rod is usually pretty quick. I would say he usually has about a 2-week turnaround, but being that this is an entire site plan, I'm not 100% sure on that. There is one condition of approval that I believe that they're still going to be discussing with us. I haven't spoken with them this week. Isaac or Fernando, have you spoken with them recently?
No, we have not.
Okay. Yeah, they were emailing back and forth with engineering. Basically, we're just trying to manage the traffic that we expect to result from this project. So we know it's going to be very busy, especially during, when they first open, their first few weeks or months even. Just based on what we've seen in other locations, we know that they're a hugely successful business that will draw a lot of traffic. So there are some conditions such as a traffic improvement plan. And that was something that added a couple extra weeks to our timeline here that they needed to develop. But hopefully we've done the best we can with the site that they've chosen because, we want them to be successful and we want them here in Selma.
And I have to talk about the traffic. I went to 2 locations. I went to one in Hanford, and one thing I do have to say is they were really quick. But the second one was on McKinley, and that one was, I just said, forget it. I don't need to have Dutch Brothers today. So
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do anticipate some peak hour issues, some grand opening issues, but we're, everyone's excited to have Dutch Brothers come to Selma. So it's just going to be a little bit of growing pains for a little bit of time. And hopefully we've done the best we can with their traffic improvement plans and our conditions of approval to try to mitigate those impacts. But it is to be expected that we will have a couple issues.
Good to see the city working with this business, make it successful. Thank you.
And the plans, I think, have been reviewed by Rod as well as the fire marshal. So all
Quick turnaround. Excellent. Okay, so the next one is the site plan review 21-0001. This is a dental office that's replacing the existing Pizza Hut building in the Walmart parking lot. This one, the project was approved and conditions were issued in February. There was a demolition permit issued, and now which they are moving forward on, and now we're just waiting on site improvement plans and building permit application. We do have two new projects that were not on your spreadsheet last time. They're both annexations. The first one is for Lennar, and this is part of the Amberwood specific plan. The application includes an annexation, pre-zone, and subdivision, tentative subdivision map. City staff has reviewed the application for completeness and issued a letter to the applicant on March 4th. Once the outstanding items are received, we will issue the annexation exhibit to LAFCO and Fresno County for review. And once we receive comments from LAFCO and Fresno County, we can proceed with our review of the project. This project includes 270 single-family residential homes and a park. The next annexation application and pre-zone and tentative subdivision map has been named McCall Avenue Estates. This site is located south of current city limits on McCall. It's on the west side, and it includes 78 single-family lots. The same status, city staff has reviewed the application for completeness. We issued a letter to the applicant on March 8th. And once those items are received, we can route it to LAFCO and Fresno County for their comment.
Real quick question on this one. Are they requiring to have a park or a green space at this location, or is it because of the amount of units?
I would like to pull up the map to be sure, but yeah, in general, the city in the past at least has shied away from what we consider to be pocket parks. So that's one of the things that Fernando is going to be working with our Parks Director, Michael, to determine what we would like to see in the future, of whether we would like to see a park as part of the development, or if they're just going to pay development impact fees to allow for maybe a larger regional park or neighborhood park that could serve the greater area. At this point, it's going to take me just a couple minutes to look up that map. I don't believe there's a park. I believe the only open space they have proposed is for drainage on the site.
well, Kira is looking for that. She's correct. We are, with any project that hasn't recorded a final map at this point, we are hoping to work with the developers to add some sort of green space to each project with a significant amount.
Thank you.
I have a quick question, Fernando. Normally, how long or what's the time frame when you send it off to LAFCO?
That's a good question. I think I would defer to Kira for that.
Sure.
We typically give them 30 days to review the application. We just want to make sure that we don't move a project forward that LAFCO wouldn't approve at all. So they, as a general rule, they like to see sites that are congruent with existing city limits. So for Lennar, they won't have any issues with that. They also want to see at least 50% development proposed. So if I sent them the map that Lennar has presented to us, they would probably say great. But Lennar, as a, economies of scale, just because the application fee is the same, the process is the same, they actually want to bring in more land during this annexation process than just the 270 lots that they're planning to develop. So LAFCO needs to sign off on the area, because again, we don't want to evaluate a project and have the city approve a project and then LAFCO tell us we need to change it.
Usually they look to
but
see if there's supporting services, right? They look to see if there's supporting water and.
right, the project has to be served by sewer and water. In this case, Lennar has committed to bringing sewer to the site. It's a significant trunk line. But it would serve the entire Amberwood specific plan area at some point. And let's see, for the McCall Estates, that one is actually not contiguous with city limits. There are a number of parcels between this property and our city limits. So LAFCO would tell us which annexation process we would be using to move that project forward, because there's two processes. One is based on what they consider inhabited and one is uninhabited, and that's based on the number of registered voters in that area that they plan to annex. So once we get, and the annexation exhibit has to be done by a licensed surveyor. So that's why we ask the applicant to provide it to us, that they let us know every part of what they would like to see part of their project and give a stamped, signed with a legal description. And that's what we route to LAFCO. So we give them, and the county, because they have to make sure that it's consistent with our MOU. And we give them 30 days to comment. Hopefully they would comment sooner, but if they don't, we wait 30 days for a response.
And then is it fair to say that after LAFCO and other, is it fair to say that we'll probably have a groundbreaking with Lennar sometime this year?
I would say that's possible for Lennar, especially because their project doesn't require any CEQA. The specific plan was already approved with an environmental impact report, and the proposal is consistent with the specific plan. So therefore, we can move forward without CEQA on that, and that's usually what slows projects down or takes time. I don't know if they plan to break ground by the end of the year, but I can say that we can approve their project before then. And again, that would be a tentative subdivision map, and then they would still need to do a final map process later. But I think that they're ready to move forward. The demand is there, so I think they're going to move quickly.
And Sarah, so on the McCall Avenue, would LAFCO comment favorably on having an island like that, or would the city have to annex all that land in between?
They would generally ask for the land in between to be included.
Okay.
It's possible that they could make some accommodations, but it would most likely include a significant number of parcels.
And that would be in their comments, right? In LAFCO's
Yes, it would.
comments.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions on those two annexations before I move forward? Okay, so our next spreadsheet is larger ongoing projects that have been going on for a little bit longer. The first one listed is Amberwood, and as we mentioned above, an application has been provided to develop a 55-acre portion of the specific plan, and the city is in process of processing that application. The part of that requires the applicant to track densities and unit counts to maintain consistency with the specific plan, and that allows us to make findings that we are in compliance with CEQA. So we don't have to do more CEQA. Let's see, the next update I have is on the annexation by Mr. Gill. This is on the northeast corner of Saginaw and State Route 43. City staff met with Mr. Gill on January 26th. The applicant is aware of the materials needed to move forward. Fernando and I happened to meet with Nick on another project on Friday last week, and he mentioned that they are very close to submitting a complete application on this project, that he's been working on the drawings and will be moving forward soon. The next update is the Raven / KB Homes. This project is north of Dinuba, near Thompson, I believe. The proposal it's not a formal application yet, but we have been meeting with the Raven family and their architects and engineers. At this point, our most recent meeting was in February, and we outlined the next steps needed to move their project forward. City staff did meet with the Consolidated Irrigation District on February 25th to talk about the storm drain pond next door. The last update I have is on the V5 mini storage. We consulted with our city attorney and the applicant, and it has been decided that the final map can be recorded after improvements are completed or bonded for. So the developer is aware of that requirement and they are working towards meeting that. And that completes, yes. And I do have one more. So Valley View Estates, phase 3. This one was approved long before I got here and hadn't seen much movement, but we recently added it to the spreadsheet just this week. This one includes the development of 87 single-family homes. The tentative map was approved a number of years ago, and they are looking to bring the final map forward. And again, saying the applicant will need to install the required improvements or bond for them before we can record the final map. But that is in progress, and they have been in communication with the city recently in order to move that final map forward. I believe that's the last one. Yes, that's all I have. So if you have any other questions, please let me know.
Fernando, do you have anything to add?
A quick update on the super drive-in. Sam did come in this afternoon. He's been working on that project, as I understand, since 2014. And he brought in the letter that Caltrans gave him outlining basically the requirements to do that project. And it seems that there might be an interpretation of that letter that might have been incorrect that will allow us to move forward. So we're going to look into that this week. And I've been in contact with his contractor as well as with him over the last couple of weeks, and really trying to get this project wrapped up so he can have that drive-through at his restaurant.
So he was thinking that it couldn't move forward, and you looked at the language in a way that may lend itself to being able to move forward?
Essentially, yes. There was a sentence in the letter that said they agreed with our site plan that was submitted. However, if the adjacent property was ever planned to be improved, then it would trigger the improvements that were so expensive. And I think that was where the disconnect was. And so we're going to confirm that, but I can't say for sure, but hopefully, we have some positive news this week.
Is that north of his business?
Right.
Okay. Which is vacant right now. And does he own it?
Does not own it.
Oh, okay. Thanks for that. Council have any further comments before we move on? Okay. Thanks for that report. With that, we'll move on to the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine. The complete consent calendar will be enacted by one motion by one roll call vote. For purposes of discussion, any council member may have an item removed from the consent calendar, which will then go back on the regular agenda. The council can then approve the remainder of the consent calendar. Do any council members have any items they would like to remove tonight?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to remove item D and item F.
Any other items? I would like to remove items A, B, and E. Is there a motion to approve item C?
I'll make a motion to approve item C.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Guerra?
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Okay, with that, we'll go into item 1A. I guess we'll just go in order. This is the amendment of Amendment 1 of Agreement HSR 1928 with the High Speed Rail Authority. Can you just expand on that a little bit?
Sure. So what we're doing is amending the contract to allow us the flexibility within the personnel section of that contract. But what we're finding is that with the laborers group, that's going to be the journeyman component to it. They're going to be billed us on a flat structure, not on an hourly structure. So it's going to be able to allow us to pit that contract and change that verbiage within the agreement.
And will this still be funded by the High Speed Rail Authority ultimately?
That's correct. It's
Okay.
fully funded still. It doesn't change the overall budget. The bottom line still changes. Just gives us a little more flexibility within that budget, which was always part of the agreement in which we initially intended anyways.
And they're in their second class right now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And there'll be 3 total classes?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Item B, consideration of a resolution approving city manager's filing and execution of an application for Measure C, the TOD. Can you just give us an update on how that's going?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So the city did apply for the transit-oriented development grant to further our work on the downtown business improvement district, the comprehensive zoning ordinance update, and the downtown overlay zone. This is a resolution that is required to be part of the grant. They give us time to do the resolution after submitting the grant. So we'd like you to adopt the resolution so we can complete our application. We think we have a competitive application. Good news is we were invited to present to COG this week. So that's a good sign that they want to hear more about it. So wish us luck.
Oh, definitely. You know, downtown is more than music speakers. Downtown requires a lot of planning to revitalize, and this is a way of really doing it and funding that strategic plan and all those elements that need to be in place so that downtown can move forward on a really logical, concerted basis. And I definitely wish you luck, and I know the council does. Do we know when they're going to make their decision at COG on whether this is funded?
I don't.
This is
don't have a
Tracy.
date.
I don't have a timeline either for that. The presentation, though, will be this Wednesday at 9 a.m.
Wednesday. Okay, good luck.
And that does include the strategic plan, as you mentioned. Sorry, I didn't mention that.
Great. Yeah, that's really important. Did you want to take item D?
And I'll take item D, page 36. I just wanted to confirm on the study. How long is the study going to take? Because I read through this, it didn't specify.
I don't think I have a timeline, Mike, do you?
It's usually about 2 to 3 weeks, but Gateway Engineering was going to move forward very quickly.
3 weeks?
Correct.
Then on to the next.
I could just do it really quickly. This is the instructional service agreement. I just had a question. What's being taught here in this agreement with Fresno City?
So basically, it's any fire-related subject. So we
And
would,
who teaches it?
I'm sorry?
Who teaches it?
We have several of our instructors that are Captain Jesse Gomez and Donovan Fulner that are certified through the city college. And it's basically an agreement that allows us to get funding from the basic training that we do. Because we're in agreement with the college for that general scope there that it falls under, that we can go out, and when we go out and do our training, incorporated into City College gets their funding reimbursement, and we get that percentage of that. And they have the same agreement with, I think, virtually every department of ours.
Really? Okay, so tonight I noticed that at least one of the folks being pinned had graduated from Fresno City. Is there
3 of them? Yes.
3 of them?
Yeah.
So it's definitely, there's a pipeline. There's a corridor between the City of Selma Fire and Fresno City College.
Absolutely. It's nice to be able to work with them because we do get an opportunity to see each class and the members of each academy class and what they could potentially have to offer for our department, our community.
That's nice. It's great for all fire departments, but really nice source for Selma Fire too.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that explanation.
I'll go on to page 72, just to register. I just wanted to confirm, Tracy, I noticed that there is 29 COVID small business relief. Was there any other businesses or did anyone get turned down?
No, no one was turned down. I'm not sure what page that is on, but some of the businesses responded a little bit later than others to the requests for the tax forms and agreement forms. So those are probably going to show up just a little bit later.
Oh, okay. Was there more than 29? I think there was.
Correct. The total was 43. I believe 29 was just the first batch of applications that were fully completed.
Okay. That's it for me.
So is there,
Right. Oh, I just real quick, I think I counted 41. No?
41 was correct from probably our last update with council about the applications. I did receive the final one, the 42nd, just this week, so they should be getting their check pretty soon.
we have a motion to approve items 1A, B, D, E, and F.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and we have a second from Councilman Trujillo. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Regular business, consideration of the City Council Code of Conduct update.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. On February 16th, the City Council directed staff to have Liebert Cassidy Whitmore assess and update the council's code of conduct. We have with us this evening, Shalene Bennett from Liebert Cassidy Whitmore to go over the updates with you.
Mayor, may I begin?
Yes, please. Thank you, Shailene.
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem and council members, good evening. I've been working with a few agencies on updating their codes of conduct and ethics codes. And quite frankly, your council is ahead of the curve in having your code of conduct reviewed, especially when you consider what is out on social media at the national and state levels. We are seeing a spotlight up and down the state on governing bodies putting their codes of conduct and rules of decorum on the front burners for review and possible revision. And so the draft revisions that you have in front of you focus on core concepts and less on specific examples of potential ethical or code violations. As your council knows, the law of conduct in public service is vast and complex. All elected are required to go through ethics training every 2 years. And violations of ethics laws are handled in a number of ways, primarily through the California Fair Political Practices Commission. And so the current draft that is again before you allows those laws to take care of themselves. What you have, the code you have, and the revisions that we are proposing to your council are more of a 35,000 foot level issue spotting. What is expected of elected and setting forth the standards for your council. It is within, we revised within the structure of your current code, provided some legal updates, revisions for clarity. We reshuffled a few of the provisions where it appeared there were incorrect headings, but a couple of substantive changes, council, for your consideration. The current version allowed for your council to impose a range of sanctions on boards and committee members, but appeared to make council members immune to enforcement of the policy. So we did revise to allow the sanction against individual council members that is typical in this area, public censure. An additional substantive change is deleting the section on council members being able to appear before the council related to private interests. There are some conflicts, council, that cannot be resolved with your mere recusal, and they could conflict the entire council out of making a decision on a matter. and common law conflicts could be triggered by allowing that type of comment by an individual council member in a council meeting. So we added new language regarding allowing council members to attend board and commission meetings and members of boards and commission to attend council meetings. With that, I can go through the document, or I'm prepared to answer your questions at this point. How would you like to proceed?
Council, do any council members have any questions at this point for Shailene?
I do. I just had a question for for section 6 compliance and enforcement. Will there be like a steps or procedures that can be taken? What would that look like if we added procedures
Sure.
and steps?
Yes. So we could revise this document to be more specific in that area, Councilmember Mendoza Navarro. Specifically, for example, in the last month, I've worked with another agency and they laid out the process where if there is a complaint against an elected, the process would be, for example, it would go to an ad hoc committee made up of X, Y, and Z. And typically that includes legal, a city attorney. And then there's that initial intake on that complaint to determine then the next step, whether or not an outside investigator might be retained to investigate. And then a determination, and it is a legal determination on whether or not a complaint must go into open session versus closed session. So that process could be elaborated and outlined in this document if your council so chooses.
And so with that, because there was in the section, in the second paragraph, it does say that the reported violation would go to the mayor or the city manager. But adding this process, if the issue was with either one of those, then we can describe that in that process. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I got a question, Shailene.
Yes.
How do we avoid as elected officials just being a victim of the majority of a council who maybe have a particular agenda and want to use censure as a political tool to try to embarrass someone on the council?
Again, another question that I face at other agencies. A very similar question. It's a similar theme. And the concern is using this code, which the intent is for good purposes, being overly prescriptive and using it as a sword potentially in ways that it might not be applicable. That then harkens back to Councilmember Mendoza Navarro's question relating to the process. Outlining that process in more detail is intended to weed out complaints that are more whatever, hypothetically political in nature, but through that process, there's a legal review with potentially other members, individuals who are not disqualified or conflicted out of the process. And in that initial intake, that assessment is generally made.
Okay, but your first line in this is that this is intended to be self-policing, which was a participle used in the last ethics report or the last code of conduct from 2016 as well. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, what can happen from all this machinery and all this additional cost to a council member?
Ultimately, the council and the city really has one mechanism here to implement corrective action for violations of the code, and that's public censure. So typically then what happens is the resolution is prepared, it comes before your council in open session. It outlines the areas where the activity or statements, the violations of the code of conduct, and then the public censure of a majority of the council regarding the one individual member.
And okay, so and that would be on a 4-0 or 5-0 vote, or would that be a simple majority vote of a majority, like 3?
That would be up to your council and that's what we're doing here is determining whether it's a majority, a super majority. It's within your jurisdiction to set forth what that would be.
Because that seems like where this came from. revising this code of conduct to seemingly try to penalize members of the city council who ultimately respond to the voters who are the real stakeholders in our city. I did have a question. What this was originally packaged or marketed as something that was brought about because of some changes, that there had been changes in like the social media law, AB 922. When I read this code of conduct, I saw like one reference to social media. Can you tell me really how the AB 922 affected this code of conduct?
Really, the AB 992, which amended the government code regarding social media, there's only that general reference that is included in the revision that's before you. And the reason it's only a general reference is the revisions were made to be general issue spotting and not going into specific examples. So that would then just be the trigger to look at, do the deeper dive or the additional issues. Specific examples, violations of 992, violations of other laws were not included. Again, that's up to your council as to whether or not you want to include those specifics.
Right. Because I mean, the only time I've really even seen the code reference was by Mayor Pro Tem Cho in a Facebook post asking council to respect resolution 2016-53. And I think that was prescient on her part because, and it forecasted what was going to happen because AB 992 clearly states that elected officials do have the right to express themselves on social media just as they would in print or on the street corners. What they don't have a right to do is have a meeting on social media where the other council members like what, even if they just like what they're saying, that is potentially an infraction of AB 992. Is that correct, Shailene, that reading of that law?
I'm not able to give you a verbal opinion as to whether or not that specific example was a violation of 992. However,
I'm not asking that. I'm asking if a council member, let me back up. I'm asking if 992 clarifies that elected officials can talk about city events and city issues and matters on social media without fear of being censured or attacked by other members of council, or fearing for breaking this this law here, this bill, this 992. Is that fair to say that it clarifies that elected officials what they can and can't say, or really what they can say, that it broadens their ability to speak out on social media?
So yes, 992 does clarify that certain communications involving a legislative body member on internet-based social media do not constitute meetings under the Brown Act.
So I don't mean to hog this and belabor the point. This will be my last speech on this, but we started, I think, with this as a way to explore social media and the restrictions on social media. And it really, that did not seem to bear fruit. And so it turned into more of, well, let's see how we can censure members of the city council. That seems to be the major difference here, as opposed to the way it was presented at first, which was, hey, we need to talk about social media, that the laws have changed there. So I just wanted to note that as an observation on this code of conduct, that it really changed tenor, and it changed its tone, and it changed its focus. But I just did want to remind everybody of Assembly Bill number 992, which does allow elected officials to express themselves about the city on social media. I think that's important. Did council have any other items to add
Yes,
at this point?
I actually have a comment. So on this, and I'm really happy that we're updating this code of conduct. Because, as we mentioned previously, and, there are laws that change, especially when it came to the social media language. And so I think that as elected officials, we are subject to higher scrutiny and we're held to higher standards. We have to develop thick skin, in this position. So it was really disheartening to see my personal character, my personal motives portrayed in a way that weren't true on social media, 7 days after taking the oath of office. And so for me, it was wanting to make sure that this code of conduct, when I reviewed it, it was, the information is on Facebook, it's on social media, and I'm not gonna, say attack or say anything against a person. I'm gonna say the actions of the person. As leaders, we are looked at, like I said, with a higher scrutiny. And so it was really, really disheartening to see, that those personal attacks.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I just accidentally muted myself. Yeah, so seeing that Mayor Pro Tem and myself were, like I said, our character was personally attacked. So this is not to censor or censure anyone. It's just we represent the seal of Selma. And certain things that we post on social media, whether it's on our personal page, whether it's on our government page or whatever kind of pages that we have to be really careful because we could potentially put our city at jeopardy. So for me, we're representing the city, we're representing the citizens. Like I said, we're representing that seal. And so I just, for me, I think that this is needed. And it's not to personally attack anybody. Like I said, I want to be able to, I think all of our goals is to be able to move the city forward. And yes, let the citizens know what's going on. That's not, what this is about. It's making sure that we're respecting each other, being professional. Like I said, it was very disheartening to see a leader do that. Very disheartening. And so I would really like to move forward. My goal, and I'm sure all of your guys' goal is the same, is that I want to be able to move the city forward and not have to worry about a retaliation or the next retaliation because something was said, something was discussed, something didn't get agreed with. And so here comes the retaliation because that's, we need to move forward. So I really am glad that this came up and I just want to move forward with this conduct. And I would like to make a motion to, if nobody else has any other comments, to revise, to make sure we have a process, to make sure we add an ad hoc a committee, to outline what corrective actions will be done. So I make a motion to do those
I have a
revisions.
quick question.
Hold on, we need to see if there's a second. Is there a second for this? And then we can open it back up.
I'm
Is there a
sorry.
second?
Yes, I agree with Blanca, Councilman Navarre. I think, as you say, we do need to move forward. Social media has always been there, but to me, I don't think, for the plus side, they don't need to have names of people or criticism. Informative stuff, things going out is really good. I just want to go forward and I want to, even for the people of Selma, just let us do our jobs. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
Was that a second? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, we have a second. Councilmember Guerra, did you have a comment?
Yeah, Shailene, I have just a quick question for you. I just want some clarification here. Are you referring to like a council member calling another council member or swearing at a council member or calling them a homophobic slur? Is that what you're referring to? Because I'd like some clarification.
So the code of conduct, the draft that's before you is broad enough that it could include that. It's effectively whenever a complaint is made against an elected or a board member or a commission member, then we would go through the initial intake process if that's what the motion is and passes. That is when there'd be a determination as to whether or not it would move forward or not. So yes, to answer your question, the hypothetical you described could be included within this. And then once a complaint is made, then there would be a process that's followed.
Thank you for that, Shailene, because again, you know, referring back to respect, you know, to get respect, you have to earn it. And it's okay when you're not the victim. So I'm glad that we're going to see a policy in place. I agree, because like Blanca Navarro stated, we should be professional, and that's how everybody should be treated. But I hope it goes all the way to, it includes all 5 of us, not just 3 of you. Thank you.
Do we have any callers on the line who would like to comment on this tonight, City Clerk?
To the callers on the line, just a reminder, please use *9 to raise your hand and we will select you from the meeting queue.
Mayor, can I, there is a motion on the table. Are we not doing a roll call vote?
There's a second. There's a first and second. That opens it back up for public comment. We take public comment on all issues, council member.
Thank you.
Welcome. Do we have any public comment on this issue?
Mayor Robertson, I do see we have 2 hands raised. The first hand is caller ending in 370. As a reminder, please use *6 to unmute your line. And this is for caller ending in 370. Hi, your line is open. Please state your name.
Yes, my name is Jim Avalos, and 1701 Dinuba Street, Selma, California. On these policies that we already have them in place. We have them in place for a long time. We brought it in, you know, I think it was 2017 or something like that, around there, on a code of conduct, not just for this, our council people, but also for the entire city of Selma. Our policies were created to make it a fair field across the field. But as the comment as far as on the social media structure, this is you have a right to if you're in politics, you're gonna get some backflack, either good or bad. You have to understand that when you're in the political arena, you got to be thick-skinned. You got to take criticism. If you can't take criticism, and you're already whining already about the criticism and the structure that's going on, you know, it's not very good. That's not. You got to be stronger. You know, you can't be weak. You know, in a political arena, you have to learn to take criticism from the public, from comments and deal. Because they're going to come to you and they're not going to be all happy. They're going to be, some are going to be happy, some are going to be disgruntled. You can't make everybody happy. I know that, you know, but hey, it's life. It is what it is. This is America. You have a right to voice your opinion, and that's fine. If you're, when I was on a council, I had a lot of people that approached me that, you know, they didn't like it. Well, you know, hey, it is what it is. And sometimes, did I take it, I evaluated it. Did it affect me? No. I just took it as a grain of salt and learning lesson in my life, and moved on and moved the city forward, you know, on my decision. You know, decision processes are made, you know, you're not going to make everybody happy on decision process. You just got to be tough in moving the city of Selma forward. And if you can't do that, then there's a problem there. You need some help in yourself. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Avalos. Do we have another caller?
Yes, we do. I do see Mrs. Delgadillo, you had your hand raised.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Thank you. Victoria Delgadillo, 2029 Alton Street, Selma, California. I just wanted to say that code of conducts are good if they're written so that everyone understands what they mean. And when I say understanding, I think they're good to talk about with each other and to make sure that everyone is indeed aware of what a violation might be. And that is where there seems to be a gray area, because you may even have your committee come together and your committee may not even agree on whether or not it is a violation of the code of conduct. So I think that the code of conduct has to be very clear, and the language that is used needs to be very specific so that there are, in fact, no questions whatsoever about what constitutes a violation or not. And again, you're putting groups of people together where there may be two members that believe that it is in fact an infraction and others who believe that it is not. So I think that, again, it needs to be very specific. And it would be very good to see what types of violations would constitute, or what actions would constitute a violation. Because social media, you're behind a computer, and a lot of people say things that they would never say directly to a person, to their face. And I'm a very direct person, and I like to tell people directly. And I do not like to hide behind somebody's skirt, so to speak. And I think that, just like Mr. Avalos is saying, people need to be honest and they need to be able to express what they believe and what they
Thank you,
feel.
Ms. Delgadillo. We appreciate your comments. Any other callers on the line?
Hi, caller ending in 948. Your line is open. Please state your name.
Teresa Salas. I agree with Councilmember Navarro that this code of conduct is needed. I believe that it does need to be updated. You may have had one in the past, but I do believe that it should be updated to reflect changes in policies, in social media, et cetera, so that all your bases are covered. So that somebody can't use one method of communication to intimidate or put down someone and not have it be counted. So I do agree with the updated version, and I do agree that it needs to be passed. As far as instances, you could give examples, list examples, but there's always going to be something different. So we have to be satisfied with the general rules that are being made at this time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other callers tonight?
Those are all the callers that I see, Mayor.
Thank you, City Clerk. With that, we'll bring it back to council. Does anyone have any parting comments before we go to the roll call? Okay, I have last comment. Unfortunately, I'm all for code of conduct and having this as guidance. We've had one since 2016. As I said, I've seen it brought out one time. And the key in both of these code of conducts, both versions, is self-governing, the self-governing nature. You have to remember that you're representing the council when you're up here and when you are in the community as well, whether you're a council member or whether you're a commission member sitting up here. It's a privilege to be up here, and the voters put us up here, and the commission members are appointed by the city council. The danger with this, as I mentioned earlier, when I talked about the evolution of how this code of conduct was brought up by certain council members and how it changed when social media wasn't seen as something that could be used to maybe penalize somebody, then it changed to just these steps of how elected officials can be censured. And I see a real danger in that of the majority. And by that, I mean 3. Just because it's a majority doesn't make it right. And I could see this with this machinery coming in with the Shailene telling us, we can start getting commissions and start spending all this time on complaints. I could see complaints and counter complaints going back and forth and back and forth and taking up a lot of time. We can't confuse disagreement with city council members' policies with personal attacks. They are different, and absolutely those should be watched, but it is part of the territory of being on the council that when you give it, you're going to get it. When you come out with something, hey, you are opening yourself up to someone either having an issue with that or saying they don't agree with it or saying they do agree with it. But that is part of the council experience. And this code of conduct is not going to lessen that, and it shouldn't. We're on the hook and we're accountable to the people. And we should be accountable to all the people when we make our decisions, and those decisions should be in public. And with that, I will ask the city clerk to call the roll, please.
Mayor Robertson, just for clarification, the revisions that were requested and the motion and second that were on the floor is to add verbiage to section 6. Is that correct?
That's what it looks like. I mean, I looked at the revised handbook, and it looked like most of the differences in compliance and enforcement for elected officials to be able to be sanctioned. That's where I see the main difference. I see one passing reference to social media, nothing to AB 992, just to sort of social media. But that's what I see. That was the motion to approve, to change
It was
it
a
to what's
motion to
presented.
add. It was a motion just to, Shailene, if you wouldn't mind just confirming.
So what I heard is another draft coming back to your council for consideration that includes revisions to section 6, where additional process is included on the complaint and intake and potential investigation procedure.
Okay.
And one more thing, and about the ad hoc committee, adding that as well.
I will.
Oh, that was, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And do we agree on a simple majority being able to censure an elected official or a super majority of 4?
Would that be in the procedures? Isn't that going to come back with your procedures, Shailene?
Correct. However,
alternatives for a
Yes.
majority or super majority, and the council could determine that at that time.
That's correct, City Attorney.
Thank you for that clarification. Mayor Pro Tem Cho, did you second that? Is that what you envisioned seconding? Mayor Pro Tem Cho?
Yes.
City Clerk, is that clarify it for you?
Perfect, thank you. Councilmember Mendoza Navarro?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho? I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Cho?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Guerra?
No.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
No. That will move on to item 3, consideration of options for community cleanup week events. Report, please.
Council, we recently approached you at the last meeting in regard to a couple of items that we'll be bringing forward with waste management. One is the location of the 2 times a year we do community cleanup events. And so this item is specifically for that. Our next community cleanup event is in April next month. In the past, we have had them at the Waste Management Transfer Station, and we're recommending that we have April's at that location. If council would like us to move it back to Selma, this event, we would like time to find a location. As of right now, we don't have a location in Selma that's been identified that meets all parties' needs. However, if you would like it brought back in the future, you can give us direction to find a location for the October cleanup, which would be the next one. Also, council did express interest when we went over and discussed different options for these cleanup events. Council did express interest in looking at a voucher program potentially that has a potentially a large impact on the city's budget, as it's very popular and a lot of tons of items are disposed of during such events, at least by the example with Fowler. So we would recommend that discussion take place in conjunction with the upcoming budget process.
Okay. With that, we'll bring it back to council. Do we have a representative of Waste Management here tonight?
Yes, we do.
Did they have anything they wanted to say?
Liz, did you have any comments?
Yes, if I could. Yes, we did discuss all the options available to the city. And our biggest obstacle right now is just finding a location suitable for handling a drop-off event. Again, we do offer our transfer station as an option and a backup that seems to be working well according to our numbers. But we would certainly respect your direction and your wishes as to where you would like this to be held. But we are looking at all options at this time.
Thank you for that, Liz. We'll bring this back to council. Do council members have comments on this item tonight?
I have a comment. I think because of the short notice where we're at going into April, correct? I think the transfer station for me, because of COVID also, I think it would stand to be probably the most logical point, being the time frame. But that's my opinion. I don't know where everyone else stands.
Thank you for that.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to keep the cleanup week in April at the waste management facility.
I'll second that.
Okay, now we have a first and a second. We can put this back on the floor. Did any other council members have comments at this time? Okay, with that, we'll ask, is there anyone on the line, city clerk, who would like to comment on this item?
Hi, caller ending in 948. Your line is open.
Hi, this is Teresa Salas again. I understand that you don't have enough notice to do the April cleanup in Selma, and that's fine, but I would really like for the council to consider bringing this event back into the city limits of Selma. It's really hard some people don't drive that far. They may drive within the city limits, but may not want to drive all the way to the other side of Fowler to take their trash, or may not have, a truck or a trailer or whatever to be able to take their things. I know that it was hardship for me to take things out to Fowler to take my things to be dumped. So I would really like to see this event brought back someplace accessible within the city limits for the public to be able to take their trash.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have any other callers on the line?
Mayor Robertson, I see no other hands raised at this time.
Thank you. With that, we'll bring it back to council. Do any council members have any comments before we call the roll? Okay, I'll make a last comment. I agree. It's not enough time given COVID. Everybody has had so many other things going on. There really hasn't been the time to attend to an alternate site for trash pickup in Selma. That's definitely lower on the list of priorities, given that, you know, trash day will continue and it will continue to be at the Fowler location. And according to the city manager, the numbers have actually grown of people taking of utilizing this program at the Fowler location. That being said, I've also gotten citizen input saying, why can't we have both? You know, why can't we have one trash pickup day in Selma and one, you know, in Fowler, since we do it twice a year? The economics of the matter is moving the location costs nothing, right? We can have one in Selma if we could decide on a location, maybe in front of Pioneer Village, for instance, where, you know, a roll off could go and vehicles could come in, deposit their trash and turn around and go out, something like that. Not saying that that's the location, but maybe, you know, scout some locations, and this will give the city in connection with waste management time to look for that location. The vouchers are another potential issue, but that would pose extra cost for the city. So I agree, you know, right now it's just not enough time and it's not the time to change it. But hopefully in the future, staff can work on this with waste management and come up with an alternative location in the future. And with that, I'd ask the city clerk to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Item 4, council request for an update on the Lincoln Park development project.
Mayor Robertson, I do apologize for interrupting. I had a request from a council member if you would allow for a quick break.
Oh, absolutely. We'll take a 5-minute break and we will come back at 7:52.
Thank you.
X never hit one.
We have everybody, City Clerk? All council members back? All right. With that, we are back in session, and the city manager wanted to clarify on the previous agenda item that staff should research an alternative location for the next trash pickup. Is that what council wanted? Is there consensus
To bring it back to Selma in October?
to look for a location to bring it back to potentially bring it back to Selma in November or October?
Yes, October.
Yes, yes.
Is that a yes? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Okay. You
Thank
have your
you.
direction?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
With that, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is a update on Lincoln Park Development Project.
Mayor Robertson, members of the City Council, yes, staff was asked to provide an update. Public Works Director Shane Farrell and I and American Legion Commander Alicia Zuniga have been meeting quite regularly. And I know I did talk to Alicia today to make sure he called in and get any questions, but he is on the line also. Up to this point, we've removed the previous masonry wall that was behind the current one. Public Works has removed all the trees that was planted many years ago. Those are all uprooting the back masonry wall where it had like 4 or 5 different separations from the brick, and that need to be replaced. We're presently working with 2 masoneries. Our original one has not come through with the staff based on COVID and I guess other work. And so we've met Friday, Shane and I both with 2 different ones, and one has contact with Basslight. So we'll be getting their quotes this week and trying to hopefully move forward with the masonry work. We've shifted if you remember, if you're out there at the band festival or Rotary Band Festival and like the car show, the old electric boxes that were on the wooden posts that would sit there in the park. We've actually connected those. Public Works has connected those back to the back of the masonry wall and secured metal boxes that are locked. So it just looks nicer. A lot of that wood was actually rotting anyway, so eventually they were just going to tip over. So actually gives us some more open space. Public Works has already ordered new lighting and has been delivered. We will be working with Basslight again. I've spoken about that. We are working on replacing the sprinkler system around the plaza once the new masonry wall has been installed. Public Works is also be working on the inlets to make them more ADA accessible, where you have the crosswalks ones where you're going basically west, right there on Mill Street from the plaza. And then when you're going north, like if you're going up downtown, those areas have to be redone and flattened out to make it more ADA accessible. The statues once completed, which hopefully will be this week, working with Alicia too and the gentleman who's constructing the statues to come out with our engineer. Once those statues, there's 4 statues are placed in the plaza, we want to make sure that they're structurally sound and going to be safe and very well secured into the cement. So that's going to be a follow-up meeting, and Alicia is going to be making contact with the gentleman who built them, and then we'll work with Gateway to have it out there. They don't weigh a lot, but they weigh enough, 200 to 300 pounds each, or one's a little bit actually a little higher. Just want to make sure they're safe and secure and not going to tip and fall over. American Legion is also working on ordering the 4 new benches. Park benches will be replaced inside the plaza themselves. For those you remember, we did have the banners that were up at one time on the corner right there at High Street and Rose. We've actually taken down the banners, so we have more open view when you're coming up 2nd Street. We'll be talking about a marquee that we'll be budgeting for. With COVID and the price, we'd love to put a marquee on the corner of Rose and McCall, which we've talked about with both the Rec Commission and the City Council. And so we're looking between $45,000 to $50,000 for a marquee, and then approximately $10,000 for labor and basic materials and getting the infrastructure to the marquee. We've also looked at the marquees, like the one on Floral and Highland, Floral and Whitson, I'm sorry, which we've discussed in the past too. But our goal that Lincoln Park was to have an all dedicated marquee that's dedicated just to programs and services with the city and public announcements. Having the marquee such as Whitson and Floral, you have to have the ads and then you get to the program. So we were looking at our own city marquee per se, where when you're at the intersection of McCall and Rose, everything's about the city or about programs and services. And so American Legion has also agreed to sit down with us too and help contribute if the time comes based on following the project at the Lincoln Plaza. That's basically where we are today. I know COVID has taken away from us a little bit of Public Works works hard. I know they're really stretched in, so they'll be getting on the sprinklers too. Shane is all for this project. I know he's online too if you had any questions. But again, this week we should hopefully have a meeting with the gentleman with the statues and then get the masonry settled and get going. We are shooting for Memorial Day. Basically, it's getting everything done in time, and then if COVID does allow us to.
Thank you for your report. Appreciate it. Public Works Director Shane Farrell, do you have anything to add to that, specifically why the planners have to go in before the rest of the items?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
The trough and the planner needs to go in before we move forward with the electrical and the irrigation, due to the fact that they're going to put a 24-inch footing in, and I don't want to undermine the footing, which is support for the troughs for the wall. So it'd kind of be pointless to put a footing in, then undermine it, to create a void and a weak spot. Like Mike said, we had a couple hiccups with the initial mason, and we moved past that. Now we met with two other gentlemen, and we feel pretty good. Hopefully they get their quotes in soon. I'm ready to go. I got all the irrigation materials, supplies, controllers, valves, etc. in-house for the project. I have everything for the lighting, phase one of the lighting and electrical upgrades. So sooner the better. I'm ready to go.
Thank you for that. Alicio, Commander of Post 12, did you have any comments tonight?
Yes, Mayor Scott Robinson. I'd like to address all city council, Cho, Mendoza, Navarro, Trujillo, and Guerra. Just good evening. Yes, I felt pretty positive with this. Hopefully this next bidder that we got is named Willie. He seems to actually pretty motivated gentleman. He's willing to do some items, donate his time for some other items that we want to get done. He seems pretty, I feel comfortable with this gentleman because I just want to get the project going. I know we had issues with the last masonry where it didn't come through, but that's part of life. We just got to go from there and move forward and keep pushing. But like I said, our post is standing by. I've got members calling me, hey, when's the crime scene tape going to come down? When are we going to start putting the wall? And so, hey, that's part of the job. Like you said, I got to have a thick skin, the same with me, because these older gentlemen, the World War II veterans, Korean veterans, that, they don't want excuses. They want results. And I tell them, hey, you know what, things do happen and we'll go from there. But like I said, our post is ready to, I'm just waiting for that masonry to say, we're ready to roll. I could order the landscaping. I'm just waiting on the date to get that going. I'll sit down with Shane and go over the sprinkler drip system because Willie Williams, the gentleman that we just spoke to last Friday, he just wanted to make sure that the drip system was done correctly. That way we don't get the stains on the brick and stuff like that. But other than that, I like to meet with Shane and Mike and maybe get Mark out there and let's start we want to put the lights to hit each monument. So, now that we're waiting, we got time. If we could get something written up with Mark, the electrician, and get that going, that way we're not just waiting around step one. I like to say, let's attack this. Let's attack this. We can. Let's move forward with that. That way we're not delaying it any longer. So we'll get with that. And like I said, we're working all together on it. And I feel positive and confident that we'll accomplish the mission. So I just want to beautify our area. And like you said, we just all got to work together, the whole community and keep positive and hopefully the city council sets a good example and keeps things positive and sets example, leader by example. That's what the military teaches. And hopefully like Navarro said, hey, whatever happened prior, and like you said, Mayor, we just need to all get along and let's move forward and let's show some initiative and leadership and some positive atmosphere for the community of Selma, and let's just get this done. And I feel comfortable I feel confident and comfortable that we can do this.
Thanks for your leadership at Post 12. It really you can definitely tell there are a lot of veterans, who may not have a whole lot more Memorial Days in them. And we really hope that, that Veterans Memorial Park that they deserve can be delivered by Memorial Day. So thank you for that and all your efforts and all the contribution of Post 12 and everything you've done as veterans. Would council like to weigh in on this topic tonight?
I have a quick question, Mike. I know we talked about this over a year ago or so in regards to the marquee. And I know we kind of talked about bringing a nice marquee like, when you go into Reedley or Dinuba, they have a nice size marquee. Is this for 45,000, 50,000? Is that what we're talking about?
It'll be similar to that. It just won't be the dimensions. It'll be probably more like a 12 by 14. I think what we're looking at, those are pretty big there. That would just dominate the whole corner. This is going to be a little bit more downsized. But we were looking at a nice cement base. I think even with the list show, we've shown some examples where it's like brick around it, very well landscaped. And then with like a city logo and even American Legion Post 12, we'd actually put a logo on some samples. So it's going to be a nice marquee. It just won't have the same size.
Well, will you be able to give us an example?
Yeah,
to
that's what
council?
we would plan on if this was budgeted and approved, we would bring some samples and then have the rec commission and also city council have input on that. I don't want to make a decision for McKee. I want this to be a group effort to decide on what looks good for the city.
I do have a question. I'm sorry, Councilmember Guerra, were you done? Okay. What is the potential of having this wired for solar? Since we're going to be, going in here, is there a potential to possibly have some connection? I mean, I'm not an electrician, but I'm just thinking, if we have a solar project coming up in the area, it would be beneficial for that to be wired for solar.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, if I may.
Yes.
That's a very good idea. And where the location, they're speaking of putting the marquee, there's a parking lot there that is in dire needs of reconstruction. Some trees could be tore out. Maybe we could put some solar parking shade structures, create shade parking areas as well as produce solar to power the marquee. It's a great idea. I have met with the electrical contractors to make sure we have sufficient power to supply the marquee, and we do. So just throwing that out there. Thank you, guys.
City
I have a question.
undertaking a solar bid right now? Is the city, just 1 second, is the city going out for a bid on solar for council direction?
Get the RFP executed here shortly. I'm reviewing the draft right now and preparing it, so we should be able to get it out.
Could that be part of it?
That's council's desire to add that scope to assess that. I mean, that is a potential. Currently, Lincoln Park is not scoped to have any kind of solar project at it right now.
Okay. So would that need to be a council item in the future? An agenda item for the park, or could we give you consensus tonight? It's not really an agenda item.
Consensus is sufficient, I believe.
Is council, well, I'll table that for a second. Councilman Trujillo, did you have a comment?
Yes, I also would just like Councilwoman Guerra question, about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, we started talking about our marquee. And I know that our park there, everybody passes by, everybody sees it. I actually think that we as a council in a whole should look at it and I think we should direct our recreation director and see if we get actual plan drawn up and actually look at the size and the scope and the cost and see what we could do to bring in a nice sign that would represent our community. I think it would bring a lot to our community. I think it would showcase the park itself and the veterans. And I think that we should really look. I know we talked about it about a year and a half ago, and I think it's really important. So I would request that all the other council members take a look at it and let's work on completing this. The veterans are doing a good job. I think it would be great for us to work with them. So that's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, is there anyone on the line tonight, City Clerk, who would like to comment on this item?
to the callers that we have currently on the line. As a reminder, please use star 9 to raise your hand, and we will select you from the meeting queue. Mayor Robertson, at this time, we have no callers raising their virtual hand.
Thank you. We'll bring it back to council. So what I'm hearing is there's 2 items. One is, do we want to include the solar option, right? Solar power option in the RFP for the companies that will be potentially providing the solar option for energy to the city? And 2, do we want to authorize Director Kirschner to investigate options for the sign, or would we need to wait until the budget to capitalize that, or can we authorize it now? Is there money, right? Is there money in the budget for the $40,000 to $50,000 marquee right now, or would we need to wait until our budget rolls over to allocate money to that for the 21-22 fiscal year?
I mean, considering we're already in March, I would just wait for the next budget cycle and just plan ahead and put it in there.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I was actually asking that if Mike could go back and understand that maybe we're talking about a little bigger sign. Maybe we could come back and get about 3 proposals with the drawing so we could take a look at it and we could actually include it into our next year's budget.
Okay.
I could do the legwork this fiscal year with the understanding that the funding would come maybe July 1st, the next fiscal year.
Yeah, yes,
Okay, so this would be the planning stage,
yes.
right, in the bidding process. Or what do we mean by larger? What does larger mean? Because there's a spatial, limitation at that corner. Mike, Director Kirschner, what dimensions can we put in there right now?
I think we'd have to go out there. Shane and I can go out there and measure from there's the 2 palm trees there that we talked about centering it. We've also talked about moving it slightly to the right, basically going east of McCall. If you center it between the palm trees, which looks good, kind of where the statue was. The problem is that's where the turn signal is when you're going north from McCall to turn right on Rose. And so that's kind of a tough spot because now you got the signal blocking it. And then
How about the sun?
conversation we had too, if you put it too high, then it's going to be really high and no one's going to be able to see it. So just kind of to the basically east on Rose.
Are we looking at a 2-sided sign or a 1-sided sign?
We were looking at 1-sided with an angle with the whole intersection. You can see 2-sided raises the funds. And then you have to put it, it was kind of hard to explain.
It's hard to see from a
yeah, because you have
northbound
to angle
direction.
it straight if you come from McCall. So one side was here and people could, all 3 intersections could see it really good. The only blind spot would be partially when you're going north on McCall.
Okay.
That would be
But
just
the rest, Rose, Grant,
Groves, Grant, when you're coming up
McCall, the
Rose.
other direction on McCall. So those would be good vantage points.
Yes.
Okay. I'm good with that. What size? Did you have a size
Well,
preference?
I was saying more like the size like Reedley's and Dinubas.
Okay, we'll start with those.
Can you scope the different sizes out?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so so council is good for Director Kirschner to go out and look for bids with Director Shane? Okay.
Yes.
And then how about the solar option? Is there a consensus to get a solar option for the new Veterans Memorial Park at Lincoln Park too?
So I have a question on that though, because we don't have an RFP yet. This is still going to delay this project, right? If we were wanting to do the marquee before because it sounds like the RFP is not quite ready yet.
Well, the process for the RFP, we'll put it in the scope. They're going to have to do a feasibility study on that location. I can tell you that the digital sign alone will not warrant putting in solar. It's not going to generate enough power. So they got to reassess what that study came out to be and make sure what is that additional wattage going to actually generate, and does it meet the standards? I mean, because there's also got to be a return, right? So your study is going to assess the power that's being utilized there. Is there enough generated power to actually warrant putting in solar? So the RFP is just going to write into the scope, assess that location with this additional wattage coming in. So it won't actually delay it any further than so.
Okay.
So it's going to go in as traditional electric right now and with a potential upgrade to solar?
It'll go in as a request for feasibility study to be done to add that in there.
And retrofitted to
And
solar?
in essence, will it warrant it? And because again, Shane's pointed out a good location, we could use it there. I mean, you can't really put it anywhere else in the park because then you'd be taking up more park space, right? So it actually condense that park if you try to put an array somewhere, or if we did it on a shelter or something to that extent, maybe. But so I think we're kind of have the information we need to build it into the current RFP to be able to move forward.
And if I could, Mayor, members of council, if you could give us a verbal on these consensus items. I'm sorry, I just didn't see everybody nod head. So I just want to make sure on
Okay.
both these that if I could
We have a
just hear you.
consensus on making solar part of the RFP for Lincoln Park. Is everybody good with that? Is that a yes?
I said yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yes, okay, I'm a yes. Councilmember Guerra is a yes.
And then on the investigating the plans, Michael going out and getting like quotes to prepare for the budget process, that was a yes from everybody?
Yes.
Let me clarify when, can I clarify something with you? In regards to the sign being larger, Mike, if just because of the fact that I'm in construction, when you call and ask for a sign company, a neon sign or a company, they come out and they actually look at the geographics and they also tell you what's the sign that's actually properly available to be put on that because of liability. So could we just get a couple of companies out there just to submit a proposal with a cost factor?
Yeah, I'll get a couple more. I had one I've been out there once. And so I will bring it, his sample and
Thank you.
theirs, and I'll see if I can get one or two more. The sign company who does the work for the billboards here actually referred me to a few too. So they're actually very helpful where to go.
So they might have some options in terms.
Yeah, they don't
of
construct them
space
themselves, but
requirements.
they sent me to areas around our area who actually do the construction. So,
But that won't delay the Veterans Park either.
oh no, that will have,
Right.
yeah, be,
Yeah, that's another phase.
yeah, I'll do those in conjunction with each other.
A good city manager?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mayor, you do have, I believe, Ms. Delgadillo who has her hand up.
Pardon me?
Ms. Delgadillo has her hand.
You're cutting in and out. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Does anybody wish to say anything?
I think there's a resident that wants to speak.
Oh, I see a hand
Oh,
up,
okay,
top left.
right. City Clerk, do we have someone from the public who'd like to make a comment?
Mrs. Delgadillo, did you want to speak on
Yes,
this matter?
I did. Thank you. Victoria Delgadillo, 2029 Alton Street, Selma, California. I was just wanting to say that when that sign is put up, can it be synchronized with the traffic lights? Because right now, when you look at the sign over on Whitson, it causes people to stop and not go. Traffic, people are wanting to read that sign, and I don't know. I think that there's got to be a way that when we have a red light, there will be able to see and read the information on that sign. I don't know if that can be done. The other thing that I wanted to say was, I want to say, weren't we going to have the flags up there? And if the flags are there, then we always have to have a light on for flags, right? Is that correct? So,
Did you want a response to that, Vicky? Director Kirshner's right
Yes.
here. He's looking.
There is a flag in the plaza. I know Shane's worked on brand new lighting and LEDs. So the flag in the plaza is lit. Actually, American Legion
and they're going to be flags for each member of service.
I understand, yes, with Alicia. And then we're actually looking at a POW American flag now that Alicia recommended this last Friday meeting there too. But yeah, Shane's done a great job adding new lighting there.
That's wonderful. So that's great. So the lighting will be there for the flags. And then the other thing about there, we said that the landscaping was going to be red, white, and blue. And I didn't have a chance to speak at the meeting when we were discussing that. And I believe Selma Landscaping, the nursery, was going to be doing the landscaping there. But what I did want to say was the blue flowers, plumbagos, those are just beautiful, beautiful bushes, and they flower. They're just gorgeous. They're all over the Fresno Chaffee Zoo throughout the entire park, and they've added them. And I have a couple of them in my backyard. One of them I have in a whiskey barrel, and one of them I have in the ground. And they've really taken off. They grow very quickly. I don't know if planters can be made for those, or if those would create a problem if you put them in the ground with the wiring there. So I don't know, maybe planters would be nice. And then you could put annuals in there or just keep perennials in there. And I also think that red would be really nice with the rose bush trees. They are pretty expensive. I bought a Mr. Lincoln and it was almost $100, a little over with tax. But plants are very, very expensive, but it would be beautiful if you put the red, white, and blue theme like it was mentioned. But thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for your service as a veteran, Ms. Delgadillo. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Do we have any other callers on the line?
Mayor Robertson, we do not have any other callers on the line.
Thank you. We do have a first and a second on the floor. Does council have anything they'd like to add before we go to the vote? Okay, with that, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Robertson, I didn't see that we had a first and second on this. I did see we had a request and we had consensus on both items.
Oh, okay. You didn't have a motion from, hey, do you want to?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, call the roll, please.
So just to clarify, the motion on the floor and the second on the floor is to provide direction to staff and to bring this matter, the two matters back at a future meeting?
Right, and to, move forward on what we,
Yeah, I
the
think,
planner, going to that, getting that planner bid.
yes, getting, including the solar option in the RFP that is going out on the solar project and to investigate proposals from sign companies so we can include that in the budget process.
And what was the last one, Mayor Robertson?
Moving forward on the bid for the planner.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilmember Guerra?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro?
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho?
Yes.
Mayor Robertson?
Yes. Item 5, this is a continued item. Consideration and necessary action on resolution declaring an abandoned sign at 1630 2nd Street an illegal on-premises advertising display and a public nuisance and ordering the property owner to abate the nuisance. Report, please.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. As you might recall, in January, the City Council decided to continue this item to this meeting in order to provide the property owner, Mr. Dave Mendrin, who I believe is on the line at the moment, to give him more time to move forward with his plans to develop the vacant lot that has the public nuisance sign on it. And as of last week, I have spoken to Mr. Mendrin. He indicated last week that he would be submitting additional plans for review for a sign permit because he does plan to use the poles that the sign is on right now. 2 of the poles and 1 would be removed, I think. And today I did receive a revised site plan towards the end of the day, as well as revised 3D renderings of the proposed project, which would be a Valero and a Starbucks there at that property. And so he is, Mr. Mendrin is making progress. And so the staff's recommendation is to conduct a public hearing to determine whether the property owner is making progress. And we do believe that he is. And so our recommendation is to continue conduct the public hearing and continue it. The other option is to adopt the resolution declaring the sign a public nuisance and to take action to abate it.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing item, which I admitted saying at the start of this agenda item. And with that, we could ask, I will bring it back to council first before we go to Mr. Mendrin. Does council have any clarifying questions at this point? Okay, with that, we'll go to Dave Mendrin. Mr. Mendrin, welcome. Do you have any comments tonight?
No, I don't. I turned all my plans in. I'm going to have a meeting with Fernando, I think next Friday, to get them submitted for site plan review.
Thank you for that. And it looks like you are you looking to bid on the property next to yours?
You mean bid on taking the signs down?
Yeah. Are you
Residential property adjacent.
right? Are you attempting to add to that property?
To my property?
Yeah, by the
Yes.
adjacent lot.
Yes.
Will that hold you up if you don't get that property on your project?
No.
Okay, with that, we will open the public hearing to the public. City Clerk, do we have anyone on the line who would like to comment on this agenda item tonight as we open the public hearing?
Hi, Mrs. Delgadillo. I see you have comments for council regarding this agenda item.
Yes, thank you. My internet went down and I'm not able to see the address. Mr. Mendrin, what is the address? Is this where the gas station used to be? Are there tanks underneath that property?
No.
Because you mentioned, or someone mentioned, the Valero gas station.
Well, it's going to be a Valero.
I see. So it
So it'll
is.
have all new tanks and everything underground.
Okay. You know, I was reading an article in the Fresno Bee 2 Sundays ago about all of the properties that there are in Fresno County that have been gas stations, and that nothing can be put on those properties until all of the chemicals are cleaned up and all of the tanks are removed from any properties. And that was the reason that I was asking if this was in fact a property that used to be a gas station. It just makes sense that if there is already an existing area where there are tanks ready to go and hook up gas, then that would save the cost of having to go in there and to clean up chemicals and pull out tanks, because it's very costly. Thank you.
Yes. I'm not that lucky. So we pulled the tanks out, I think. It's been quite a while. Good 15, 20 years, but it has a clean bill of health. No contamination or anything like that.
Thanks for your comments. Do we have any additional callers on the line?
Mayor Robertson, those are all the hands that are raised at this time.
Thank you. With that, we will close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Does council have any comment, or would anyone like to make a motion at this time? The motion is either to give Mr. Mendrin and our community development director time to meet on this and keep moving forward, or to declare this location, the sign there, a nuisance.
I'll make the motion to allow our new director, Fernando, to go ahead and continue to meet with Mr. Mandrin, because it looks like he is moving forward. So, I mean, it takes time, so I think we at least owe him that. Sound fair?
Second. I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Does council have any additional comments? Okay, call the roll, please, City Clerk.
Just for clarification, and I think Hilda would request this as well, we need to make it very clear when we are continuing this matter.
That's correct. Thank you, Ms. Rivera.
Okay.
I would recommend not just next meeting, maybe a 60-day period, and just so that you don't have to keep coming back every couple of weeks.
But for the 60 days, give you enough time, Mr. Mandrin, or
Ask our
90
community
days?
development director too. don't you think?
Yeah, 60
Fernando?
days should be plenty.
Yeah, I think that would give us enough time to
Days?
review.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to continue working with Mr. Mandrin and our director, Fernando, and allow 60 days.
You want to second that?
Yes, I'll
Councilmember?
second it.
Okay. And is
I
there,
show that on the calendar to be approximately the next meeting would be May 17th.
okay. Council have any additional comments at this time? If not, will you call the roll, please, City Clerk?
Councilmember Guerra,
Thank you for noting that
Yes.
timeline.
Councilmember Mendoza Navarro,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cho,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Okay, with that, we will move on to departmental reports. City Manager Gallivan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
Thank you, Consul.
Thank you, Mr. Mandrin.
All right, thank you. I had a council inquiry about property enhanced infrastructure finance district. So I just want to give a brief update about where we are in trying to pursue the ability to create an EIFD, that's an enhanced infrastructure finance district. I just have 2 quick slides that have more information, but I'll make, this is a lot of information that I'm just going to narrow down into a very quick briefing. But because this goes back to the dissolution of redevelopment agencies 10 years ago. So enhanced infrastructure financing districts are a mechanism for property tax increment funding that allows local agencies to give up a portion of tax revenue so they can be utilized to fund public improvements. We had a presentation on this and bids approximately a year and a half ago. The legislative body adopts a resolution to create the district, and the Public Financing Authority administers that. And in order to create one, you have to have a finding of completion from the wind down of your redevelopment agency. So in 2011, we had to wind down redevelopment agencies. Dissolution laws legislation caused all redevelopment agencies to wind down, become successor agencies. And in that process, all of them were supposed to strive to get a finding of completion of that process from the Department of Finance before December 31st, 2015. So there are things that could delay that, such as litigation, not having paid off all the amounts owed to the Department of Finance, and Selma found itself in litigation with the Department of Finance. As you're aware, that was recently settled. As part of that settlement process, though, we did try to get a finding of completion through that process. However, that was not granted by the Department of Finance in our settlement. So we are still without a finding of completion, and a finding of completion is needed to create an EIFD. So some things that we are working on moving forward. As I mentioned, we were working with our last city attorney on trying to include that in the settlement with the Department of Finance. We can discuss that with our current city attorney and incoming city attorney to see if there are other options. One of the options our previous attorney mentioned was that we can look at a potential litigation to try and get that finding of completion. One other way we've been working at it is to also look at it legislatively. So we have been working with CRISCOM, our legislative consultants, to seek legislative change and any other options that might be out there with the Department of Finance in order to change the legislation that says you need to have this document to get an EIFD. Well, so either find a way to get the finding of completion or to change the legislation so it's no longer needed. And we're not the only city in this boat. So not everybody got their finding of completion before 2015. So working with CRISCOM, last year we tried during the legislative calendar year, we tried to join with legislation that was introduced by Senator Skinner to make those types of legislative changes, but it was determined that that language change they were making did not positively impact Selma. We also worked with CRISCOM to try and include this legislation change in the omnibus bill that was going forward by the league, I believe it was, and they determined that it was too controversial and they would not add it to that opportunity. So we continue to work with them to seek opportunities to change this so we can use this important economic development tool in our community. We know of at least one property owner that would like to use it for public improvements for future development. Again, it has to come forward from the property owner and the city would assist in creating the district. But the property owners do have to want to impose that on their property in conjunction with the city. So I wanted to give that brief update. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
What kind of improvements? Sidewalks, lighting standards?
Generally, any type of public improvement that will last more than 15 years, there's much more detail about it, but things like, yes, like infrastructure, all types of infrastructure, but it needs to be for public benefit.
Would it mostly be on new residential projects or commercial projects?
As long as there's a public benefit.
Could be used on anything to finance those public improvements.
It does need to be, it cannot be on private development except in some cases industrial projects. I think that may have to do with job creation, but generally things like major infrastructure upgrades to facilitate the development.
Roads,
intersections, sewer. Interchanges.
Okay. And have we talked to our assembly member and our state senator about this important topic? Do we need to have those conversations again, do you think?
We can have them again. We have indeed discussed it with them, but we want to continue to keep bringing it forward. But we have talked to Senator Hurtado's office. I believe they've also talked to Arambula's office. So when we have those meetings with them, we do bring that up.
Right. Thank you for that update. Does that conclude your report tonight?
And just one other thing, some good news. We found out this morning, the city was awarded a $100,000 grant by the Community Power Resiliency Allocation Program, and that will allow us to put a generator at the senior center.
Great.
So congratulations to the team that put that together. Thank you.
Okay. Interim City Attorney Montoy, a report tonight?
Mayor and Council, I have nothing to report today.
Thank you. All right, Community Development Director Santillan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. Just a couple quick updates. We are moving forward with our zoning ordinance update project. We did receive 3 proposals, I believe in February or January. And we have interviews scheduled for each of those firms that submitted a proposal for Tuesday, the 23rd. So we are excited to move forward with that project. And then I also wanted to, I think Teresa sent an email update about this last week, but we had a very productive meeting with Caltrans, staff did. We were joined by the police department, the fire department, and our code enforcement division. And It was a very, as I mentioned, productive and informative for us in terms of understanding the process that Caltrans uses to identify high priority level homeless encampments along the Caltrans right of way. And we were fortunate to be able to schedule a meeting that Friday, which Chief Gomez and Sergeant Holt went out there and met with the Caltrans maintenance manager, homeless encampment manager, and showed them all the areas of concern within the city along the Caltrans right of way. And we received some commitments after Chief and Sergeant Holt, showed them those areas to get those cleaned up, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. So we do have that firm commitment, and we'll be following up. And as things come up again, we'll try to stay on top of them.
Appreciate you doing that, because I can tell you, I get contacted on this constantly by citizens, and I drive by it every day to go see. I go to the underpass in 43, and then I go by that triangle. There's a big tent up there. They have a bike over there. They had a pallet jack there. It's like 6 months ago. It's deja vu all over again, and they're coming back. And I don't know if it's because of what Mayor Dyer is doing in Fresno, eliminating those illegal homeless encampments on 41. But it seems like we're getting an influx of people. Same thing could be said of the mall behind Wendy's. Just drive by there, just see the people walking in there, the people sitting against the trees, just people that you wouldn't recognize, that you haven't seen before, that are coming to Selma. So that is very good news about Caltrans agreeing to help the city. And hopefully they will make this a level 1 issue and come help us with that. And thank you to you and to Chief Gomez and to Sergeant Holt for staying on Caltrans to remedy this problem, because it is a big one. It is a really important issue in Selma. Okay, Assistant City Manager and Director of Finance, both hats, Isaac Moreno.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Just a quick update on the audit. We have received the drafts, so we are moving forward again. We're wrapping that up. Hoping to come back to sometime in April, most likely the second meeting, to get that formal presentation from the auditor so we can finalize it and get it approved.
Thank you for that. Okay, Public Works Director Shane Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Nothing really to report this time. I just want to reiterate the fact that our goal for the Veteran Plaza is Memorial Day. That's what it was initially, and we're going to stick to that goal. I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Fire Chief Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Just a couple updates on some previous reports. We did have our first burn at our training center last Thursday, which went well. We had a good turnout, so it was exciting to be able to get out there, train again, get some live burn time in. And on top of that, we finally start to see some training classes out there. I think people are finally adapting to COVID protocols and such. So we've been able to send probably a half dozen or more staff members to various training classes over the last 2 to 3 weeks. So that's good to finally get back to. And other than that, still working with our staff and partners and working on vaccination opportunities. I just did the one Friday with Mike and Liz at the senior center, our second one there. That went well. The second one at the high school on Friday evening we did. And we'll be working, I just got a request this afternoon, we'll be working with the United Ways event out at the Sikh temple on the 28th.
Is that the date? March 28th?
Sunday the 28th?
Okay. Is there hours, is there time for that?
I'm
yet?
sorry. I'm sorry, Saturday the 27th.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And then what's the, what are the times? Do they have that down?
I'll have to get back to you for sure on that. We can. send
That's
out
a
report.
massive one, right? That's
It's a
1,000
big one. They have
vaccines
it's my understanding they have 1,000 doses.
of the Johnson?
Johnson.
And did the state change the eligibility guidelines for vaccines today?
Yes, my understanding starting today, anybody 16 and over with underlying health issues can now get vaccinated.
And is there any proof that you have to give that you have those, or you just
So
tell
they've done it.
say
They've
that?
done it 2 ways. They have said if you have a private physician, you can bring in some type of a doctor's note. Thank you. the city clerk, Raina, just gave me an update here, March 27th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
10 to 7.
And they do bring in a doctor's note, but recognizing that some folks might not have a primary physician, there is they have the ability to go on the county website and sign a document that just indicates that they have.
Where do they have to sign up ahead of time or just show up
At the event on
Saturday?
United Way, you have to have appointments.
Get appointment.
And is that on their website that you sign up?
Good question, but we talked about it on our Zoom phone call last week to help with traffic.
When you know, can you put it on our website, city's website?
We will.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Right.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Parks and Community Services Director, Mike Kirschner.
Yeah, following up, we are working with the fire department. We did 120 this last Friday and 52 seniors the 2 Fridays before. We're also working with the county to finalize that hopefully this week to start on March 24th to have vaccines also at the senior center. And it'd be similar to the testing that's being done at Pioneer Village, but this would be Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Who will be administering that?
I just emailed it's a different company. It's through the county. It's not the same company that they use for testing.
They used United Health at the last one. Didn't you guys use United Health?
The
last senior center one.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The last 2. Yeah. They're very they stepped up to the plate. Our seniors are very appreciative.
That's amazing. And then what kind of vaccine will it be? Do you know yet?
I believe the county is using Moderna, I think.
Both.
Both Pfizer and Moderna, the way I understand it. And my guess would be they will also start to use Johnson & Johnson when that does become
Have we seen anything on the variants that's a problem in California so far, or is the vaccine been working on that too?
all indications so far are the vaccines work on all of it.
Okay, yeah, that's good news.
Yes, Chris.
That it? All right, thank you. All right, Police Chief Gomez.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Just to follow up on the homeless issue, it's kind of interesting. We don't have any encampments in the city now. They're all on Caltrans property. And I'm interested to see if they are new people. I don't know, because they don't want us, based on our meeting, they don't want us going in there and arresting people on their property because we asked them if we could. So I'm interested, but they would like us to be with them for security when they do it. And the superintendent who came out Friday, he believes he could do it all in one day, which would be great. And there's a lot out there. If we walked all the way the side of the freeway from McCall to Second. I had no idea. There's probably 10 encampments in there. They're dug in the side of the slope there, all the way up and down. They're not huge. They're almost individual dwellings, but there's a lot in there. I had no idea. And they are
like a
popping up. I
recent
don't know why they're
situation?
popping up. They're in that bowl now, just south of McCoy's.
Mhm.
They hadn't been there since I've been here. They hadn't been there. And then on the other side that we dealt with when we had about 8 in there on the it's on the off ramp there coming northbound right at the floral off ramp. Now there's 1 or 2 in there now. So I'm not sure why all of a sudden they're popping up. They haven't been around for months. But we'll address them for sure. Thursday morning, we had a call at Jackson School, and it was around 8 a.m. And the call was a couple carloads of males were harassing the female parents dropping off students on the Alton side. We got there really quick. The vehicles were gone. We checked the area, but it certainly brought up the issue that we have not had to deal with since I've been here of school issues. And now elementary children are going back to school. And I understand after spring break, high school and middle school here will be going back. So those issues are going to come up again. What I did after that is I contacted Wayne Dixon at the school, pupil services coordinator, and got all the elementary school locations and the times the kids are dropped off and when they get out. and I put that out to my troops. It'll be an ongoing issue, I'm sure, but we will continue to go out there when we can and make sure we provide security for the children there, because we can't have that at all. But other issues are going to come up with the schools getting back going again. We had a call at Super 8 on Friday. Guy was on methamphetamine, maybe fentanyl, just out of control. And we went to arrest him. He fought a little bit, and we took him down right away, cuffed up. So, and I bring that up to you because things are still happening there, not as much as in the past. But West Care, very, very helpful out there. They helped us go search a room, was related to this guy. We couldn't find the drug dealer that probably gave him the drugs, but they're very, very helpful. The last time I went out there on the deceased person, about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, very, very helpful with us out there. So that's a good thing. A couple other things. On March 14th, detectives and officers conducted an ABC tobacco enforcement detail using grant funding. Officers and detectives issued one cite, made one arrest, and conducted 6 tobacco inspections of commercial establishments. We will be doing that more often now. Our 2 new canine officers will start their canine training on March 20th, and that's a 10-week process and training. Then Officer Zach Shannon, he completed his field training program. He's now solo. It was his first night, and he crashed a patrol car on his first night. But it wasn't his fault. We were pursuing some guy. He hit a pole, he crashed, and he backed up into Shannon trying to get away again. So I told him tonight.
Hear the end of that one soon.
I told him tonight, have a story the rest of your career. You crashed a patrol car the first night. It's not your fault, so don't worry about it. But that car will be out a little bit. Not too bad. It wasn't too bad.
It wasn't totaled.
No. Just the front was crunched up a little bit. So it'll be out of service a little while. Then lastly, Sergeant Holt, which we've mentioned him already. I assigned him to grants in addition to many other things. He's doing an outstanding job with that. He's all over those, gets them done right away. And one thing he did here on his own is he got a grant for Narcan. And if you're not familiar with that, a substance, when people OD on drugs, they inhale the Narcan, and it's amazing. It brings them, they wake right up. And I've seen it in Fresno several times, but we didn't have any here. So he got a grant. He got 48 boxes, and they're $220 to $235 what they cost. So because he got the grant, he really saved the city $10,000 to $11,000. So he did that completely on his own. And all of us are trained in Narcan, and we'll be taking it out there on patrol.
Awesome.
So the city's much safer now. Actually, the officers were hitting up Holt to get Narcan. So yeah, he did a great job with that, and has been doing an outstanding job with grant, everything else I've assigned him to. That's all I have for tonight.
Thanks for that. Did they have to use the Narcan on the Super 8 guy?
No, he was conscious.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was conscious. He was doing push-ups, jumping jacks.
Oh.
Just, yeah. You
Lucky,
gotta
right?
see-
With the fentanyl.
See it.
Wow.
We were there, as soon as him, he stiffened up, wanted to fight. We just took him down, put his arms behind his back, cuffed him up right away.
And he wasn't a guest at Super 8. He was, or not the guest. He was someone who was at the Super 8 as part of the West Care plan.
He's a participant. He
Oh, okay.
was. And so told him the drugs. He was a participant also.
In the homeless plan to
Yes.
keep the homeless from getting COVID by putting them in the Super 8.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you for your report.
You're welcome.
With that, we will move on to council reports. Council member Mendoza Navarro.
Sorry, my mute button didn't want to unmute. I just have a couple of things. One is I had a representative from the governor's office COVID task force contact me she just had questions about, what our efforts were here in town. And so I gave her some information, and then I also forwarded her the information that Raina sent us regarding the event that we're going to have on the 27th. So she's going to be sharing that with her office. And then I am part of the leadership committee over at St. Joseph's Church. I help out with, basically I assist with community service for the confirmation classes. And so we had a leadership meeting on Wednesday and met the new priest. And so just some things that are happening this week. I know with COVID protocol and everything, we are having a special mass on Friday, the 19th, because St. Joseph is our patron, and that's St. Joseph's Day. So there's going to be a special bilingual mass on the 19th. Sorry, on Friday, the 19th. And that's all I have.
Thank you for your report. On Councilman Trujillo?
I don't have too many things. I know that I just like to make everyone aware. I know that things are wrapping up and everybody's getting their shots. So I assume that in a couple of months, or a couple of months, or maybe even weeks, we'll actually start being, in-house for our city council meetings, and I'll be happy for that. I also will be happy that, once we open up, we'll start seeing some of the restaurants like my restaurant open up. So aside of that, I'd like to thank our staff for all the good work they do. But aside of that, I'm ready to start going out and doing the things we can do as a public official. But for everything else, I just thank all of you guys for working hard, and that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Guerra?
Okay, I attended an SKF meeting. And the information that was provided to me was there was a sewer implant or a sewer improvement between Logan and McCall and Floral and Chestnut. And they will be replacing about 1,000 linear feet. And also located in the alley between Logan and McCall and Floral and Chestnut. And they will be coordinating with the city to get that project going. That was pretty much it for SKF. And then I just wanted to mention about a year ago, or a little over a year ago, we recognized a little gal named Magali Perez. And she is a little boxer. And she is now we recognized her, like I said, over a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, as a national silver glove champion. This year, her parents are fundraising to send her to a tournament in Chevronport, Louisiana, and she's going to be competing there. And what they mentioned to me is that several fights will possibly, if she gets to that level, will qualify her for an Olympic team. So I just like to be really proud. She is from Selma. She's a sophomore currently. They are doing a fundraiser for her. And if you'd like to help and support, you can contact her father. His name's Daniel Perez. His number is 661, area code 203-6611 is his number. So just really proud of a little individual or little girl from Selma, which I love to watch boxing. And I told him I'm so proud to say that we have Magali Perez from Selma, like Avenal has Jose Ramirez, Fresno has Mark Castro. So we get Magali. And then on a personal note, I'd like to, I'm just ecstatic. My son and my daughter-in-law announced that they're going to be having a baby, a little girl, in September. So she will be my second granddaughter. So
Congratulations.
that's it for me.
That's awesome. Way to go. Mayor Pro Tem Joe?
Yes, hi. I'd like to thank the staff for getting our meetings organized for us. I did enjoy I did a tag along with Chief Gomez. Thank you, Chief Gomez, this
Welcome.
week. And that was really interesting. So he just let me ride with him, and we went around the city and we saw some stuff and point out its areas, so that like the city is working on different areas. That's good. I'm really looking forward to tag along on all the other department heads also. So thank you.
Thank you. I had a good meeting with Fresno Mayor Jerry Dyer. As you can imagine, he did say, hi, Chief Gomez, by the way. He meant the one topic we discussed with the time allowed was homelessness. It is a big topic in Fresno. The mayor is doing a cleanup job on 41, which everyone is seeing. And while it's not set in stone, but the people who are leaving those illegal homeless encampments, they are going somewhere. It doesn't take a huge stretch of the imagination to see that they may be coming, some of them may be coming to Selma. He did mention that Fresno is committed to not displacing the homeless to other communities. They want to find housing and permanent and semi-permanent and emergency, semi-permanent and permanent solutions. And that's including the project Home Key that Fresno has been working on. So when they go to people on the 41 and they say time to go, they don't just say get out of here. You know, they have a solution for them. The only problem is not everyone takes that solution, and some go, as we've seen in Selma as well here with the folks who refuse to go to the Super 8. So he mentioned that Fresno's purchased 2 motels, and he also said that the Fresno County Housing Authority has purchased several motels. And I know we have a council member who works there. I was wondering, Council Member Mendoza Navarro, are they making those rooms available to the cities in Fresno County? For
They're
homeless?
working, sorry, yes, they're working with different partners, and there's four hotels that they actually purchased through the Home Key funds.
Okay.
And I know that they are working with, some of the ones that were already there. And they're a transitional type of housing. So they're going to be there for 2 years and, working with, to move them to a permanent supportive housing.
Do you know
But-
how the city of Selma could get in touch with the housing authority regarding the folks at Super 8 who will in effect be homeless again in June if there's no other solution for them?
So we typically, I can have you, I put you in contact with a couple of people. But as far as those, I mean, it just really depends on the person, if they want to go to Fresno. But I know that the ones that are here in Selma, they typically don't want to move out of the area. So I'd actually like to see, I know we missed out on the opportunity for the Home Key funds here in town because I think it expired the end of December. But I would have liked to have, worked with Selma before I got elected to buy a couple of hotels that we had here. And,
So,
like to have.
Yeah, the ARP money coming from the federal government supposedly is going to be quite a bit. And I'm wondering if some of that money couldn't be looked at by the council to work on a local homeless solution. Maybe in conjunction with the other cities, because we're all in the same situation. This CARES Act money's running out and people are not going to be able to go to these motels anymore. And, that's no life living on these really dangerous interchanges and, like they do at 99 in Floral. That's no life. And I really hope we can come up with a solution, and maybe that government money coming from what the government just passed might be useful for that. One question I had that, while Director Kirshner was talking on the billboard, the reader board, I should say, at Rose and McCall, that's going to be an informational. Is there any kind of, I don't know if we even say it anymore, it's kind of on its way out, but CARES Act or COVID money for something like that, or emergency money? Because it will be something that the city can use to inform citizens of emergency situations. Might there be a funding route that way, a funding source?
So we'll look into it, but yeah, Our goal, I mentioned program services, but also, as you said, it would be like a public announcement to
Yeah, like a public announcement.
make people aware.
Dedicate some of it to
Yes,
that.
we can look into it.
Thank you. And then the Fresno Business Journal is doing an upcoming article about cities like Fresno that are doing downtown revitalization efforts. Really exciting. They interviewed me for that, and that was a great opportunity to sell Selma and talk about what we're doing and our marketing efforts downtown. Really nice that we're continuing to move forward on that. I really hope we get that transit-oriented development grant. We got it 2 years ago. We didn't get it last year. Hopefully, we can get it. We can get it this year. For all of those who've been following on the Second Chance Animal Shelter's Facebook page, the saga of Oreo the kitty. He did lose his leg. They had to amputate, but he is in foster right now. He had an infection, and he's actually fostering with another 3-legged cat named Zorro. So he will be out of foster hopefully in the next couple weeks, and he'll be back at the shelter. So if anybody wants to take Oreo into their lives, please call the shelter for that. And with that, we will see if we have any more oral communications tonight before we adjourn.
Mayor Robertson, I do not see anyone with their hands raised at this time.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn? We are adjourned.